Is prompt engineering something that, as a developer, you should be investing in? Is prompt engineering dead?
Prompt engineering really changed in the last few months and years. I personally stopped thinking about the different tricks around prompt engineering, which I used to do before, and now just focusing as much as I can on getting the right context into the model. So there was that idea of context engineering, which could sound a bit grand, but at the end of the day, the model just needs to know what it's supposed to do. So if you're working on a problem and let's say you're trying to build a marketing plan, but the model doesn't understand the whole context of how much budget you have or what are the peaks that are coming up in your business, then if you don't give that information to the model, then it doesn't matter how smart the model is, it wouldn't understand or wouldn't give you the right answer. Focusing on providing the right information to the agent, to the model, is really massive part of the task. And one of the things that I personally do quite a lot is I start using voice to prompt the model, which is really shows you that it doesn't really matter precisely how you phrase things, as long as you provide the right information. I find the models are really good at working out from your just rambling thoughts, working out what it's supposed to do. So what I do a lot of the time is just to start a voice recording and just talk to the model out loud. I could talk for 5 minutes if I'm just trying to structure my thoughts. And I find that's a lot more productive rather than trying to find the perfect phrasing of how you're going to prompt the model. Just getting your thoughts out is so much more important.
The difference between prompt engineering and context engineering is that context engineering is less precise, but both should include the context.
With context engineering, the challenge is that you need to get the right information to the model, but also, especially if you're building an agent, you kind of don't want it to just be polluted by the information that is not relevant. So if you're building the agent that is doing marketing plans, you don't want it necessarily know things about, I don't know, information from 3 years ago, because then it could get confused and maybe misunderstand what it's supposed to do. With context engineering, you do need to be precise if we are talking about the types of data that it should have access to, but maybe it doesn't need to be as precise in the sense of the precise words that you're putting down. If the document that it has access to is maybe not quite optimized for LLMs, I would say that's broadly fine now. But go back a year or two, it really wouldn't have been fine. There are no markdown headings. The model could just flip out and get confused completely. But now I would say models tend to be really quite good at just navigating any kind of documents.
You shared that tip of using a voice prompt just to kind of speak out loud, think out loud. Doesn't that introduce the possibility that you're polluting the context?
Yeah, I guess it depends for how long you're going to talk for. I would say it's surprising how little text comes out if you talk for 5 minutes. It's really surprising. People talk for, I don't know, is it like 80 words a minute or something like that? Or call it even 100 words a minute. So in 5 minutes, 500 words, this is speaking quite ongoing basis and quite often I'll pause and think. 500 words, that would be what, under 1,000 tokens? That's not really anything for the model. That's not really that much.
How often do you voice prompt versus type prompt?
If I'm alone, I voice prompt a lot. So if no one's gonna listen to my secret prompts and thoughts, then I'll do it. So if I'm building an application and I want the model to understand my thought process or why I'm trying to do a certain thing, or maybe try and explain the kind of issue that I'm encountering, then I'll definitely voice prompt. One example where I don't use voice prompting is if I need to get the more precise model names or precise libraries I want to use or something like that. Sometimes with voice it gets lost and confused and you don't want the model to go off and start doing something just because the transcription wasn't quite accurate. Another time I would use voice is when I'm giving feedback to the model. I almost treat it like a Zoom call where I would just start the voice recording and start looking at the output that is created. And instead of having to read the output first, structure my thoughts, tell the model, I would just start reading and say, oh, I like that, I don't like that, or maybe let me go back actually 3 points ago, let's change that because now I see it further down the line. And I've never had issues that the model gets confused by that, because at the end of the day, it's actually not that much you are giving to the model. Yeah, it's probably under 1,000 tokens of input, which models can deal with quite easily.